bro.
Let's see what happens with
Deke.
this Chiefs-Bills game
Deke.
if it gets played on
Deke,
time.
can you be a leader,
and if there's
please?
Snow that
Deke, can you
is
be a
in
leader?
effect.
Deke, just be a leader and just follow the sword, bro. This was all you, man. If you would have been in the building, we would have won.
Nah, you know what? No, if Pickett's not going to do his Tuesday media
That's
scrum, and if
So you just go walk
Pickens
out,
is going to
you
blame
just-
the refs,
You out.
that's
All
the
right.
vibes. That's the vibe. I'm not taking blame.
My dog said, yo, I ain't even talking to the media no more. You want to talk to me? See me in April. All right, player. Y'all gonna see me in April. I'm not talking to y'all right now. Oh, man, that's crazy, bro. I just thought that you was going to handle the bit. I thought you was going to stand in front of this thing and just say that, you know what? Yes, it was my fault. That's all I was looking for, Deke. Jeez, be a leader, man.
Do you have any takes on that, though?
Two. All right. If we talking from a professional standpoint, you obviously know it's not the right decision, regardless of how you personally feel. You stand in front of it and you give them the cookie cutter, smile in their face, and yep, I can't wait. I'm gonna support them, whatever the coaches say. Yeah, you know I'm all on board with it.
You learned
It was a
something.
hard team, but I definitely learned something down the stretch. That's how you ended, and you say, man, wish you all well. I'll see you in April. That's the professional cookie cutter. Keep everything quiet and you don't have me and Deke reacting. The response he gave, though, I get it, because that's I'm pissed off. I still feel some type of way from a couple weeks ago. Don't act like them reports weren't accurate when I keep giving you reasons to show you that, hey, these are accurate. Everybody has to stay and talk. It's not mandatory, but this is the last time you talk, because you're not going to talk to the media again until you come back for OTAs. OTAs don't take place until April, usually around the 18th when Lil Man was born, all right? So you the quarterback. You're QB1 on paper, right? Still technically on paper, you're QB1. You're still the captain of this team. You're the leader of the first rounder from a year ago. How the heck you gonna walk off, bruh? But I get it, because you hot about everything that's been taking place. And even in this game, Mason still played well. So it's not to the point where they about to come over here and ask you questions of, hey, bro, are you ready to be the guy? How do you feel about it, man? You can get this chance back. It was probably going to be some more of them questions like, man, what did you learn from Mason? Or how do you feel about your role this offseason? Or what do you see your role being? Are you still eager to be back here? Do you want to be back here?
Do you think you're QB1?
And those are probably questions that at that time, he just didn't want to answer. We don't fault him for it, but this is what happens, the cause and effect. When you don't answer it and everything that's then transpired and all of the little rumors, right? You dressing or deciding that you didn't want to dress in Seattle. Okay, well, now people are going to come back and visit that again. Why? Because when it was just time to do regular media at the end of the season, like everybody else does, you decided not to do it. Now, when we come back and we start looking back to when they asked you, hey, did you learn anything from Mason starting that Bengals game where he was cooking? And you're like, no. Now we coming back to look at that like, well, dang, bro. You ain't learned that in there. It was a little dress conspiracy here. You don't talk to the media here. Like, what's the disconnect? What's happening here? It doesn't seem like everything is paradise, like everything is copacetic. And you don't want it to look like it's jealousy either. But these are all the things that ultimately get talked about because of just the continued cause and effect of everything. So that's kind of my approach with it, man. I definitely can see it both ways. I'm like, I get exactly what you're feeling and why you did what you did, because I've been in similar situations where you started the year as the starter. You went through the season feeling like you're the guy, and then it transitioned at the end of the season. You're not the guy anymore, but you got to come here and still talk because you in the contract. And you like, bro, I don't want to talk to y'all. Y'all about to ask me about this dude. Or you about to ask me how I feel about this dude being in front of me right now, or do I still want to be here? I don't want to talk about that. So it's like, you got to understand, though, sometimes it's better to just get it out the way, control that narrative right now, and you ain't got to deal with that thing until April versus right now. This is going to be one of them underlying things because he never said anything. So until he, does an interview, podcast, or whatever this offseason.
No more podcasts for him either.
That too.
He was doing a lot of them last offseason.
He definitely was. He definitely was.
Pat P, if you're back, cancel yours with your cousin McFadden. Cam, you know what? Cancel yours too. I know you really didn't say anything controversial, but I want 0 Dark 30 locked in for 2024.
But like, to me, like that's kind of the dynamic with it. Like, I don't fault him for it, but I just think like no different when we talk George Pickens, just learning what to say, when to say it, what to do, when to do it, how to react. I think this will be one of those learning lessons for him where he'll look back and be like, you know what? I'll learn from this situation, man. It happens, though. He's young. Like, I ain't one of them dudes about to crucify him. Like, nah, you young. And to be a former player and act like we haven't felt that when you've been the guy, and then at some point in the season you were not the guy, and then the guy that they put in front of you, they crowning him as the new guy, and you're like, bro, what? And you still feel some type of way the whole time? Oh yeah, that's a tough situation, bro. Super tough.
Yeah, on one side of it, I like that he's showing an edge, and he's not cool with how everything played out, that he still feels like he is the guy and he can be the Steelers franchise. On the other side of it, maybe you'll have to answer this for me. Like, what is the procedure there? Is that like he's going to get fined for this? This was an obligation for him?
So look at it like this. It's never a situation where you're going to get fined with media unless you habitually just do not make yourself available. That was the Marshawn Lynch thing. It wasn't that he wouldn't talk, once a week. It was like, yo, he just was not ever available. They come into the locker room, it's like, yo, he's never there. They try to request for a post game, he's never there. That's when you will get fined, because you do have to make yourself, it says like within reason, accessible to the media. That's why even when we land on away games, if they want you, they get first access to you before your family. You got to go check in with them, talk to them, whatever story they want. So with this, it's not technically mandatory, but it's one of the things where everybody knows you're going to do either.
People are going to want to hear from you. Yeah. Or the media is going to want to hear from you.
And typically, if I remember correctly, the way that we did it here in Pittsburgh, we did locker room availability before we would do our actual team meeting. So anything that we're talking about, we couldn't say, oh, this is a hard fact from Coach T. It kind of protects us in a sense. Whereas if you have that meeting with Coach T, the team meeting, the individual meetings, and now I come down here, I don't get to be like, oh, I haven't talked to him, so I don't know. You don't kind of get that. So that's also a part of it too. So that's why I was like, yeah, you kind of know, bro. You're supposed to be in the locker room for this. And you're the quarterback. It ain't like we talk about the backup running back or the backup receiver. You're Kenny Pickett, the first rounder for 2 years now? Of all the people that got to talk to the media, you're one of the people. You don't talk to them on Sunday after the games, right, or Monday after the game. You're one of the people, bro. So that's
it. Just would have been a professional courtesy.
Yeah. So don't even think of it as professional courtesy. Think of it as, if all of us as a team got to do this, you're supposed to be our leader. How are you?
Is
not
he the
there?
only one that bounced?
He's the most noticeable one. Put it like that. Because from all the other reports, you got George Pickens. I want to say you either have people talking either post game,
right,
or they talk
Pickens
today,
and Najee,
right? It's one or the other.
You had TJ and Cam.
Right. It's one or the other.
Yesterday, yeah.
It's one or the other. Because this is literally the last time that people, in terms of the beat reporters, the local media and stuff like that, that they're going to get a chance to talk to these guys until OTA. So if you're a guy that this your last year on your contract, you don't think they want to know what's your thought process? Are you interested in coming back or not? That type of stuff gets talked about, in terms of Kenny Pickett. You don't think it's a legitimate question to say, do you want to return next year? Or is this a scenario where you might request a trade now? We heard TJ Watt go on record and say, I want to play for Coach Tom. I don't want to play for another coach. That's the type of stuff that gets said now that lingers throughout the whole offseason. So when we start to discuss, oh, do we want Coach T back? Even though we already know what the scenario is, it's like, okay, we'll just talk about the ripple effects of if he is not here, when you got a guy like TJ specifically saying, I don't want to play for another coach. Is that dynamic potentially worth it? Also, when we're talking just a whole of where we're at and what that looks like if now multiple players are starting to take that approach, because a lot of us come here or stay here because of him. You will take the chance on your career because of him. And that's one of the ones where I just look at that like, yeah, this is what you get during these final days of media, whether it's post game or, like I said yesterday, when they had their like final media access or media availability day. So that's why it's like I said, it's not just this professional courtesy. It's like, bro, we all got to come in here and speak. This is like where we all, put the final stamp on the season. So if we had a bad season, bro, you still got to face that music. If you would have won the Super Bowl, you'd be in there facing that same music. You'd be in there celebrating. So it's like, you can't pick and choose when you want to, come out there with us or not. We all got something that we was upset about. We all lost. None of us are advancing. So what makes what you're dealing with more important than what I'm dealing with, the what he's dealing with, the what they're dealing with? We all in it. So it's like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's like I said, it don't kill everything, but it's one of the things where it's like, bro, it just don't look good. And that's why I was like, you don't want it to come off as like you being jealous or you hating, because it's like, well, dang, bro, before Mason took off, You was always in front of the camera.
Now that was mandatory because he was the starting
but
quarterback,
just
right?
in general,
Right.
you just see the perception of it. It's just like, dang, bro, like you ain't had no issue then. What is like, they still trying to talk to you? It ain't like they don't want to talk to you. Most of the time when you get benched, they don't want to talk to you anymore. It's like they still actually want to talk to you. But that's, like I said, just part of the day. So it's like I said,
Because it is an interesting story.
Yeah, I definitely get it though, bro.
It is an interesting aspect of what the Steelers got going on right now.
Yeah. And it's going to be a big part of the journey this offseason.
Yeah.
Because think about how much the dynamic changes of the urgency on Mason or quarterback position if Kenny were to ever say at some point in time, I'm upset about my situation here. He didn't even have to say, I want to be traded. If he just simply said, I'm upset about the situation here, that changes the whole narrative of, all right, well, you want to keep Mason, you don't want to keep Mason. And now it's like, bro, you better figure out some stuff because we got to figure out this quarterback situation a lot more because we don't have this guaranteed anymore. That's some of the stuff also that comes from it. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's pros and cons to it. I'm glad that, he took this approach because it's a little bit chiller of a thing to talk about versus if he did take a heavy-handed approach and say something like that.
Right. Maybe he knew himself too well and his body language or just the tone in his voice would speak for him.
Right, because that could be legitimate too. And Deke, you know how the social media rock, bro. Let him have done an interview. And he's
little eye roll
come
or
on,
something.
bro. He's pissed off. They ask him something about Mason. Yeah, I'm happy for him. He'd be like, oh, he's pissed. Like, you know it. And now that would be the whole thing.
Yeah.
Does he want to stay here? Does he not want to stay here?
Because all we can assume right now is he's just going to lay low and get to work.
Yeah.
Like
That's it.
That's all we know.
We don't know
right
anything
now.
else. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unless he goes on podcasts or does media rounds this offseason, which he shouldn't do. That's my advice to him. Lay low.
Yeah, that's always my theory, bro. Whenever the block is hot, just lay low for a little bit, man. Cool off, and then you bounce back like, yeah, you be good to go, man.